was your embarrassing childhood celebrity crush? Well, I had a few, and in the interest of being totally open with all of you, I'm going to attempt to recall my major celebrity crushes from maybe kindergarten into adolescence, in order. And it's no small feat because, as you'll see, my sexuality in my formative years was all over the place. Ready? In the beginning, in the mid-'70s, when I was a tiny tot, I crushed on pretty little Sean Cassidy. I know I'm not alone. The Hardy Boys was much watched TV for me. And looking back, it was probably peer pressure. All the girls in my neighborhood were really into Sean. But honestly, I remember thinking that he had a really weird, pointy Adam's apple. Adam's apples freaked me out, which is foreshadowing. But Sean had shiny hair, and he sang the #1 song in America, though I admit I was befuddled by what the Duran Duran meant. Then I found out via my parents that the Duran Duran, I don't know how many times you're supposed to say that, wasn't even really Sean's song, and I was disappointed, and so I moved on. Next, I cultivated a crush on television's Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman. Jamie Summers thrilled me when she jumped real high and ran real fast, pushed her hair aside to use her bionic ear. But I wondered if she could hear frequencies that no other human could hear, as they told us on the show, and if she could hear things from uncommonly far distances, why did she have to push her hair out of the way to do that? With my next crush, I got edgier. It was my first rock star. I didn't dip my toe in either. I went full on with spooky bell-bottom Jimmy Page. Oh, sorry, that's her pushing her ear back. There's spooky bell-bottom Jimmy Page. Yes, Jimmy Page of the groupies and the heroin and the Aleister Crowley enthusiasm, that Jimmy Page. I was enamored with the pictures of Page on my older brother's Led Zeppelin poster. I would stare at Jimmy playing his pretty Les Pauls and SGs. That kind of balls-out Dionysian lifestyle must have agreed with my grade school self, because my next crush was polyamorous in nature. Yes, 1978 was the year I felt for both Danny and Sandy from the motion picture Grease. I'm not alone. Admittedly, this double crush confused me, but it set a tone for the next 10 years of my life. How could I like both of them at the same time? How could I long to run my hands through Danny Zuko's pompadour and Sandy Olsen's bouncy blonde locks? Her lips were so pink, but so were his. They were beautiful, and they danced like angels. When I got my tonsils out in 1978, my mom, who was a nurse's aide at the hospital where I stayed, smuggled in a portable record player for me and a copy of the double album of the Grease soundtrack. I blasted Grease Lightning, but I blasted Hopelessly Devoted to You as well. I stared at the color photos that were inside when you flipped the double album open. Sidebird Danny in his rogue pink shirt wiggling his hips in the school gym. Sandy with her white headband and a summer sweater singing, which one? Which one? Which one? Very soon after that, I heard the band Blondie. And when I saw the band perform Call Me on TV, I flipped hard over tiny sex pot singer Debbie Harry. I will go so far as to say the minute I saw Debbie Harry, my life took shape. Because I wanted to simultaneously be Debbie Harry and be with Debbie Harry. And I still do. By this point, though, I was starting to wonder why I got so many crushes on ladies. My friends were not getting all these crushes on ladies. Well, you can probably guess the answer to that. By 4th or 5th grade, from subsequent research I've done since then, I know all the other little baby dykes had developed their mandatory crushes on teen star Christy McNichol. And if you don't know who she is, I'll explain. She was the Justin Bieber of her day. Christy was not really my cup of tea, but I fell hard for her Little Darlings co-star Tatum O'Neal. Thus began a lifelong affinity for Irish girls with complicated families and or substance abuse problems. Yes, it's like I can smell the dope on you and the booze in your systems. I'm not alone, right? I share this affinity with countless others. I can't be the only one in this room who saw the paparazzi shots of a disheveled Tatum after her crack bust in 2008, and I thought, God, you know, she's still really, really hot. But wait, maybe there was hope for boys in me, because by the 6th grade, I entered what I call the Nick Rhodes years. Yes, Nick was technically a man. But see, this is why it was so convenient or maybe confusing for the sapphically inclined girls to come of age during New Wave. We didn't have to deal with whiskers, and we didn't have to imagine stinky, smelly armpits, because men wore mascara and eyeliner, and everyone was pretty. Anyway, from grade 6 to 8, I loved Duran Duran's Resident Girly Man, and when I say I loved, I mean it was true-ass love. I wrote my mom notes and signed them Mrs. Nick Rhodes. I dyed my hair the same color as he did. I wore pins of Nick's face on my jackets, and there was no more honest way to show your love for a famous new wave gentleman back in the early 80s than by wearing pins of their faces on your jackets. And I was devastated when Nick got married, and kind of freaked out by it too. Sad to say, Duran Duran became decidedly un de rigueur by high school, so I kicked in the mid-1980s with a whirlwind crush on Jodie Foster, which was a landmark crush for me because my crush on Jodie marked the first time, at least that I know of, that I ever got a crush on a woman who herself got crushes on women, by which I mean she was a lesbian. And you're thinking, wait, didn't Christy McNichol just shock the fucking world when she came out in People magazine last month? Yeah, but I didn't like her. Remember, I liked Tatum. All right. Anyway, my mom had impeccable gaydar, and she basically outed me to myself because she'd always say things like, I wish you could find a nice girl like Jodie Foster. Meaning a girl who wasn't goth or clinically depressed or a ward of the state or something. Basically not like any of the girls I was running around with in high school. Also during high school, oh yeah, Lisa Bonet. I was a radical, politicized, militantly anti-TV kid. I know, it's annoying, I was one of those kids. But I found myself secretly tuning into NBC to watch the cloying Cosby Show, just to look at middle daughter Denise. Not only was Denise a fox, she was flighty, unreliable, she dressed weird, and she fought constantly with her parents. And these were huge turn-ons for me in high school. My last high school crush was my last boy crush, at least for a really long time. Where are we going? River Phoenix. I adored River's pretty long hair and his vegetarianism. And looking back, I could probably smell the dope all over him, too. Post-graduation, I liked River enough to see his band Alika's Attic play at Club Detroit in downtown St. Pete. One time, he and I danced side by side to the Sly and the Family Stone song, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again. But this was not my closest brush with one of the crushes. In my capacity as a pop music critic for a paper that no longer technically exists, I actually met and or interviewed over the phone a few of the aforementioned crushes, or in some cases their less adorable siblings who proved to be self-involved cranky asses, by which specifically I mean David Keith Partridge Cassidy. But it's the time I met Nick Rhodes, IRL, that I least want to remember, so for the purposes of our meeting here tonight, I'll tell you all about it very quickly. It was January 2nd, 2001. Not that I remember exactly the date. It was 6 days before my 30th birthday. Do the math, right? Duran Duran was playing the first of 2 nights at Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, and I was there to review the show. I hadn't seen Duran Duran at that point in 17 years. I had interviewed my beloved Nick over the phone a week before the show. I told him about my childhood love for him, but we also talked about who we were now. Turns out we both shared an affinity for the Velvet Underground, for modern art, but he urged me to also check out the Italian Masters, and we had laughs. That night, I met Nick backstage just before the band began its set. We hugged. We snapped a picture together. At the show, Simon Le Bon's voice, as Simon Le Bon's voice is wont to do, went wildly off-key a few times, which I mentioned in my otherwise glowing review. But as St. Pete Times late-night editor, as St. Pete Times late-night editors were wont to do, read my review very quickly on deadline and hastily put a really negative headline on it. And it said, "Duran Duran still looks better than it sounds," which I guess pissed off the band. Because the next day, Nick and then guitarist Warren Zuccarello, formerly of the band Missing Persons, went on a Tampa Bay area radio station to promote the second night show. I wasn't listening, but I heard about it from way too many colleagues and friends. When the DJ interviewing them mentioned my review in that day's paper, Nick and Warren got venomous about not only my review, but about me. Not just about what I wrote, but about how I looked backstage when they met me. That was 10 years ago, and I was 100 pounds heavier because I had a tumor. Warren Zuccarello, I know, was a vegan and a gym rat, and ironically, pre-tumor, I was also a vegan and a gym rat. But I guess he thought I looked really gross because he said it repeatedly. Nick, for his part, Warren looked really great when I met him, and Nick, for his part, is just fresh as a daisy still, isn't he? Yeah, he looks great still, I understand. Nick Rhodes let the world know what he thought of this opinionated, stupid, fab bitch. Again, I didn't hear the broadcast, it's just what I've heard. When I asked my coworker, Lyra, at the Times if it was bad, she nodded. And I said, was it really, really bad? And she nodded again. So anyway, this is all to say, sometimes dreams do come true. Well, no, it's to say what Ariel said earlier, sometimes crushes crush you. But for the record, in real life, Olivia Newton-John, she's really, really nice.